Kings, queens, and in-betweens, welcome back to another episode of the Cityboys podcast. As always, I'm joined by two of my best friends, Grayson and Ethan, and my name is Jacob. Say what's up, fellas.
Hello. I'm back. I was trapped in Indianapolis watching this game, and it was a scary one. But hey, a decent game. Decent game. And I'm glad I made it back. I'm in the office. So we are back, baby. Ethan, how are you feeling, buddy?
Oh, I'm so glad to be here, gentlemen. We're coming off the back of something awesome, and we beat our biggest rival in the league. Come on. We get to say that they did not eliminate us from playoff contention. So ultimately, it's still fuck Kansas City.
It's still fuck Kansas City. As Ethan alluded to, we are going to be talking about a huge 3-1 victory over our little sisters on the other side of the state, sporting Kansas City. But before we get into it, we got to talk about this lineup. Grayson, who did we run out there for the starting 11?
Yeah, so we saw a new formation. Not exactly new, though. A little bit of a familiar formation we saw a lot utilized last year with Klaus and Giacchini. But this time, starting from top to bottom, we got Klaus and Tuchert up top. Tuchert earning himself the well-deserved man of the match. Then we had our midfield four of Hartel on the left, Akil Watts filling in for the injured Durkin. He did pretty well for himself, earning an assist as well. We've got Edward Leuven back on the score sheet. Love to see it. And Alm also back on the score sheet out on the right. Defensively, Kessler returns to the lineup after passing concussion protocol, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Um, Partnered with Kyle Hebert, who definitely had himself a game. Then we had Giannis Horn on the left and Totland on the right. And you know him, you love him. It's Roman Berkey in between the sticks. Um, I did like this 4-4-2. We were talking about how to get all of our best players into the lineup. And I was looking at this. Akil Watts didn't get put into a ton of defensive positions. So if we put Hartel in that center spot next to Leuven and put Celio out left, just another way to chop and change to get all our big names in a lineup. We'll see how it goes. We have a couple more games to experiment with, so we will see.
Yeah, for those of you who listened last week, I almost went a perfect 3 for 3 on predictions for this match. I predicted a 3-1 victory. I predicted an Alm goal. And while Edu did get on the score sheet, it was from the run of play, not a set piece. So
I'll take those points. Thank you very much.
I, I was pretty close to being a philosopher of my time.
I
Um,
really need to start counting up these prediction points. I will have this done. I will have it done.
we
And
only have a couple games left, so
it's a project.
yeah, I liked this lineup a lot. I liked what it produced. I think, and this has been the story for the season, there were times defensively where we looked really shaky. And going forward, we looked really good. I told you guys in the group chat, and I'm gonna 10 toes down on it to the public. Our front six going forward were electric. It was
So
our
good.
back six where we really started to struggle. And honestly, like the scoreline could have looked a lot different if we didn't have Roman Berkey between the sticks.
Still undeniably the best goalkeeper in the MLS, even if he doesn't win MLS goalkeeper of the year this season, because there are some other goalies that are having notable seasons. I don't care. He's easily the best goalie in the league for me. I agree, Jacob. Some notable performances all over the field this week. Again, Akil Watts being impactful. Okay, not necessarily uh making sure that he's nailed down into that starting spot. I do think that Chris Durkin will return and take that spot back, but Akil Watts by no means has the level dropped off in the center of the field. It was also great to see Toykert a little higher up this game. He mentioned that one of his preferred positions is, of course, sitting behind the striker, just entering the box a little later. And he and Klaus had such good link up play. Jacob, you mentioned it. The front six just looked, they having Leagues Cup to get them gelled together and get their chemistry right was so impactful for this team. It has made all the difference. And as a former fullback myself, I have got to give love to Giannis Horn. I thought that he is somewhat of an unsung hero. He definitely does not provide the kind of attacking depth that Jaden Reed does on the left side, but defensively, I thought one of the strongest performances in the back line last night, a warrior-like performance to fight through injury and the knocks that he took. So definitely want to shout him out.
Last shout out regarding lineups. I would like to welcome back to the squad Joachim Nilsson.
Go
Um,
on, son.
After a decent amount of time spent on the sidelines due to his hamstring, um, I am very excited to welcome one of our best center backs in the club back to the starting, or not the starting lineup, but back into the game and getting some minutes on him. It was just really good to see. So,
Well,
but
boys, let's get into it.
let's get into it.
I'll be bringing you guys the first 30 minutes of action, which, truth being told, there wasn't a ton of action. Hackworth alluded to it in the post-game presser. It was very much a chess match at the start of this game before it really opened up into a fun soccer game to watch. But we're going to start immediately from kickoff. City go forward. I think we're done with this back passing bullshit.
I love that. I love that they are going forward, exercising their quality. Just get on your toes, boys.
It nearly paid off in a huge amount. We go forward 5 seconds into the match. Klaus gets taken down in a knee-on-knee challenge, which earns us a free kick only about 15 yards from the top of the box. So a dangerous position to have both Hartel and Edu standing over the ball, depending on how strategy you want to go towards it. Hartel steps up and he whips in a cross that ends up getting knocked out for a corner kick. So right here in the first minute, we're on the front foot. We're winning free kicks and we've got a corner kick. Now, unfortunately, the corner kick did not pay off at all. It ended up getting knocked out for a goal kick. And then we would jump up to the 9th minute. Afrifa receives the ball at the top of our own box, who takes a touch, turns, and he strikes the ball, searching for the top corner of our net. But Roman Berkey, in a wonderful position, is right there to snuff out the chance. Then we're in the 11th minute, still on the back foot. On defense, Afrifa puts Totland in an absolute blender, going inside, outside, inside, drives to the byline, and then cuts back left foot, and he rips a shot, and Berkey's there to stop it. Basically, the exact same thing happens in the 20th minute, except Vargas would take his chance to dribble at Totland, who puts Totland in a blender again. Fortunately, though, the ball got away from Vargas, and Berkey's there to Berkey fumbled the ball so that Vargas has a chance at it again, shoots it directly into the burly chest of Roman Berkey, who gets a shot block, and then Totland cleans up the mess and boosts it away. And that's pretty much it for the KG first 30 minutes. Go ahead and tell us what happens next, Ethan.
I would be delighted to, Jacob, because I only get to pick it up 120 seconds later when Roman Berkey just plays an absolute dot. And I'm so glad I get to talk about this goal because I was so impressed by Roman's distribution last night. I think that's an underrated quality about him, for whether it be from his hands, from his feet. Amazing pass goes out to Marcel Hartel right on the outside edge of the box, who brings it down perfectly, sets up Lovin just so nicely first time. Lovin tries to find his cross to but a Kansas City center back picks it out. It falls to the feet of Akil Watts. He lines up a shot because it's a good position for that. Blocked again. However, this is a formula that we have already seen succeed for St. Louis City this year. Cedric Toykert picks up the ball randomly on the top of the box, takes his touch, finds the bottom right corner. It's 1-0 St. Louis City in the Dar-B-Cue. Unbelievable scenes. What a finish from Toykert. Just all the quality on display from our front six in that move. We're going to move into the second half where I have my last event, as in the 53rd minute, Joao Klaus plays a goal kick from none other than Roman Berkey perfectly. Just uses that physical that highest physicality in the MLS and FIFA and just bodies their center back, gets the ball into the box where actually Cedric Teukert, coming in after the play behind Klaus in his preferred position, picks up the ball, takes it to the byline, squares it across the top of the 6-yard box, and Rasmus just one of the easiest goals you'll ever get. Taps it in on the top of the 6, runs over and gives Teukert the biggest hug. Oh my God, the scenes were so great. Rasmus Alm gets his first goal since returning from injury. And I mean, I just had the biggest smile at this point in the game. Grayson, would you mind bringing it home for us?
I would mind because, of course, I get stuck with the dishonor of talking about the one and only Kansas City goal of this match. 63rd minute, Jake Davis, the right back, is pushing super high up the field. He cuts inside and sees Steven Afrifa wide open at the top of the box. Credit to Mr. Afrifa. He gave Tottenham a lot of hard work to do this match, and he pured this shot. One-time finesse to the top bins. Great strike, to be honest. Hopefully Afrifa can escape KC and go play somewhere cool. Because he might be a baller. He might be a baller. So yeah, whatever, 2-1, whatever. At this point, Kansas City really starts to pick it up and push for the point. They've just brought on their offensive starters at this point. So they bring on Daniel Shalhoub, Alan Pulido, Johnny Russell, and they've got a couple chances. But frankly, who cares? They didn't score. They pressed too high, and in the 74th minute, they get caught out again. Klaus forces a turnover, and the break begins. Ball falls to Thor. He sends in Teukert. Teukert takes his time and space, sends in a long looping ball over to Leuven, who settles it and steadies himself and places the most beautiful finish into the bottom right corner, just out of reach of the keeper. And oh man, it's good to see him back on the score sheet and smiling. I feel like it's been so long since I've seen Leuven smile, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy for him. 86th minute, Johnny Klein pops in a ball over the top to Thor, who's on a break. He's 1v1 with the keeper, but keeper charges him and smothers the ball. Pretty solid save there. Good work from the keeper on that one. 95th minute, there's a crazy, sloppy, scrappy chance for Johnny Russell, but just like a smart fish, he doesn't bite, and Berkey handles it. That's all of the match. And City takes the dub and 3 points. Thank you very much.
This was such an important 3 points because not only did we enter this match level with Kansas City on points, but they were above us in the table. To disrespect to even imagine that. Fortunately for us, we get the win, all 3 points on the night, move into 12th position in the Western Conference, still mathematically eliminated from playoff contention. However, not by Kansas City, by way of Minnesota getting a victory over Colorado on the same night. St. Louis City now sits on 34 points. We sit 2 points behind Austin FC and 3 points behind Dallas. So we could potentially pull out of, 10th, 11th, 12th. We could maybe get into 10th place, but unfortunately, like I said, the playoffs are not a possibility for us this season.
Definitely a
Yeah,
hard note to swallow.
It sucks coming off of, like, as a team, one of our best games in a while to get a victory, and a result goes our way. There was some definitely questionable referee calls throughout the game that we on purpose left out because we didn't want to saturate this episode with bad things to talk about. But we bossed this match. We took our chances when we had them, and we snuffed out their chances when we had them. It took a inch perfect screamer goal for them to actually get into the score sheet. And even though our defense wasn't perfect, it took a screamer for them to score on us, which says a lot. Like, I know earlier in the season I was like talking shit on our own team for taking pot shots when they get frustrated because they don't work. The only time it works is against us, and that's what happened in this one. So yes, it sucks we got eliminated from playoffs, but we don't really need to focus on that right now, not until my point later on in the episode. We need to focus on the fact that we beat Kansas City in the perfectly dubbed, and I'm kind of upset we didn't come up with it, the Dar-B-Cue.
I love it. I think this is the perfect name for the rivalry. I hope this one sticks. It's already been kind of used in the corporate sense by St. Louis City, so I think this one will stick. I think it's a fantastic name for the Derby.
I hope so. And not to mention the really excellent lead up into the match with Sauce City and our focus on that being the sauciest city on the night. It's just it all lined up, the stars lined up perfectly for us, and we're just really made for as Joey Zanaboni described it, a party at City Park again.
Oh yeah. That photo
My
shoot with
un
Lubin went so hard. So hard.
It did. Viral, so viral. My unsung hero from this match, and we've only talked about it a little bit. I think we should talk about it more. That tifo went so hard.
Yes.
The people working on tifos, fucking chef's kiss. Hats off to you guys. The sound in the background with the Michael Myers theme, with the Michael Myers tifo.
So good.
Just you guys, great work.
I will shout out like this tifo is my favorite. Of course, I'm a massive horror fan, so right in the heart. But which match was it? It might have been the first match of the season against Real Salt Lake. No, you know what? It was against Kansas City last time, or maybe the time before that. I think it was the first time we faced Kansas City this season. We had a Wicked Witch of the West tifo. Popped up. It said, "You're not in Kansas anymore," and I had the witch laughing. It was just unreal. These tifos from our fan base definitely puts us up there with like fan bases around the world. You see like Dortmund and like maybe we're not on that level yet, but I think we're definitely on the right track. And just seeing the passion that our fan base has and the creativity we have and the passion they have to put it into a physical piece of art that we can show around the world is like so cool. So
it is definitely something for the club to take pride in and supporters of the club to take pride in. So definitely a huge shout out to all the supporters groups and the people that take their time to put those together. It's a lot of work and actual manual labor that goes into that. And
those tifos are massive.
Yeah. Oh my God. And so for them to pull it off in the time that they do and to dedicate their own lives to that is amazing. And
For free.
yeah, like no doubt we would be participating in the painting of that if we were around St. Louis, but it's just that's the beauty of the club and one reason, just one of many as to why we're so glad that the club exists.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, do we want to move into our 3 points?
Yes, I think we should get into our 3 points. And if you guys don't mind, I would like to go first.
Take it away, brother.
Sick, because I'm gonna shit on Kansas City again. We're doing it. All right. My point for this week, and maybe for the rest of the season, is that St. Louis gets the last laugh over Kansas City this year. And God, it feels good. Because last season didn't end so hot. Last season was a fun one, to be honest, but the end of the season against Kansas City, just like Taylor Twellman said, left a bad taste in our mouth. And we met them 5 times last season, which is kind of crazy that we saw them that much. Our first meeting was a dream. Brand spanking new, shiny STL, straight off the press. Brand new team. Smashes Kansas City 4-0. Absurd. Our next meeting would be taken by Kansas City. They beat us 2-1. So flipping and flopping. But with that loss right there, I felt like there was a fire being built up. And St. Louis came out hot. We come in, we banged them up 4-1, thanks to some beautiful goals from Klaus. One of the best soccer matches I have ever seen in person. It was an incredible game. City's flying high at this point. Top of the West, we clinch playoffs, but then something happens. We start to simmer. The fire starts to dull. People are figuring out our process. They're figuring out how to beat us, how to play against us. The end of the year comes around, and we take the 1 seed heading into playoffs. Kansas City takes the 8th seed heading into playoffs. They just clinch it, just barely. And we faced them in round 1, and they embarrassed us 4-1 in round 1 of the playoffs. 8th seed, regardless that it's Kansas City, the 8th seed.
Yeah, bad.
Beat us 4-1. Ridiculous. And that was a steep mark to like battle back from for sure, but I had hope that we would build that fire again. When they beat us earlier that season, we build that fire, we hold that intensity, and we come out the second game hot. We score 5 fucking goals. No, we lose 2-1, and they just silenced us. And it was just a terrible, terrible end to the season. And it honestly, we took first in regular season, and after that loss to Kansas City, it felt like it didn't even matter anymore, just
It
because
did.
that's just it doesn't matter. But so we move on. You live and you learn. What did we learn? We go to the regular season of this year. We tied Kansas City twice. A 1-1 draw and a 3-3 draw. Everything really hinged on this weekend's match. For St. Louis, playoffs are already out of contention. Or, well, not at the moment, but, realistically, playoffs aren't a crazy goal at the moment. But it, like, a win here really meant little to our success. A mere 3 points at this point in the season is not going to save us. But 3 points over our bitter rival is enough to fuel me. Our entire season this year was pretty embarrassing, sad and predictable. And although this one win doesn't wash away all of the ass that we were this year, it certainly gives me life and fuel to keep fighting for City. And we know that they're going to keep fighting for our city. So I'm pumped up. I'm ready. This year might not have been great, but this game is giving me the fuel to the fire. So we're building that fire. Next year, we're going to come out hot again. You're going to see that City that we saw last year.
Ooh, you got me fired up like a pregame speech, brother. Not to mention that the win in this most recent fixture brings the win level total even. It's 3 wins for us, 3
2
wins
draws
for them, and
2
2
draws.
draws. So right now there's nothing that splits the team. And also, Grayson, I'm going to present to you a different kind of situation just to provide like a worst case scenario, right? Because if Kansas City wins in the midweek, that's the Open Cup. So they have our biggest rival has silverware, and they come to town and then they beat us at home. That season is a wash. However, our biggest rival comes away with the same amount of silverware that we do this season, and we come out on top on the season matchup. So ultimately, yeah, it really couldn't have been a better week for St. Louis City unless Minnesota would have lost.
Which easily brings me into my point for the week, which is bye-bye playoffs and hello getting better. Now, playoffs are out. We can't do nothing about that. We didn't control the controllables throughout the season, and we definitely can't control the Minnesota game that they just won. But what we can control through the end of the season is getting better. That's getting guys who haven't had a lot of play time, some extra play time, because what are we really playing for at this point other than to get better? That's maybe throwing the kitchen sink at everything to see what sticks and running different formations or players in different positions, stuff like that. Most importantly for me isn't even necessarily like a good super draft pick. It would be to end the season better than we started the season, whether that's winning out or having more wins in the next 3 matches than we do losses. I would like to see JGR get a real shot at some long-term minutes. Definitely sit some guys who are picking up knocks and don't necessarily need to be out there. I would like to see Nielsen get some more minutes, get him back in shape, see if he really is our guy going for the future. I desperately want him to be, but we got to see. He's had 2 injuries this season, been out for a while. Um, yeah, I just want to see us get better. And we've been getting better basically since Leagues Cup, but I would like to see that trajectory to keep going. And I would like to see what Hackworth has in store for the rest of the season.
I do have a question for you, Jacob. Would you rather, there's two paths we can take here. You can either keep playing all of our new signings, our new starters, and
Our best
keep,
11.
yes, our best 11 and keep letting them gel and get better. Or do we, like you said, throw the kitchen sink at it, get our younger guys who we haven't seen much get minutes, let them play it out, and rest our new guys? What do you think?
I would like to choose door C and do a little bit of both. I
Deal.
don't think we need to have like all of City 2 play a match at once and then all of our best
Mm.
11. A good mixture and then a
Mhm.
good substitute mixture where if we do have our best 11 players sitting on the bench, they get subbed in, for 30 minutes here and there. Keep that gelling going. But like really give some of the young lads a run out. See what they're made of.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dorsey was the correct answer. Beautiful.
What do I win?
Hopefully a clean sheet from St. Louis.
That would be nice. We have been missing that so far this season. Not one in about what 13 or 14 games.
It's
Anyways,
been it's
whatever.
been 14 matches since we've had a clean sheet.
Well, anyways, like Cedric Toykert last night, I am going to round out our 3 points tonight. And it is somewhat of a debate. And I do have a stance on this, but I want to put it out there to you guys first because I'm
Grayson, you
curious
have to
what
go
you all have to
first.
think. For me, the signing of the summer is between Hartel and Toykert. Okay. I know that we had some other signings that have been impactful, specifically Simon Betcher has been really impactful. I think that Henry Kessler is, even though he hasn't shown up on the score sheet as much as them, he has showed up on the score sheet. So for me, it's between Hartel and Toykert. They play similar but slightly different positions, similar but slightly different roles in the team. Between you two, who do you have?
So for me, um, when before both of these players got MLS minutes, um, we had seen for like a month and a half that City had been linked with these players. And between the two, I was most excited for Hartel because he was Bundesliga 2 player of the season, had most goal contributions in the entire league, was the best rated player in the league. So on paper, I was over the moon for Hartel. Toykert, I thought was special, but I'm not sure to what extent. Now we've gotten to see both of them get a handful of MLS games under their belt, and both of them seem to be flying. Um, Differences in play though, like Hartel seems to be a really technical, creative player. Toykert,
Definitely.
sometimes he doesn't even look like he knows how to play soccer, but then a minute
Damn.
later he's banging in a goal. So like, I think both of them are very unique and very important to the club. I think that I think Toykert is the signing of the season. Even though I just
Okay.
said some bullshit about him. Like he's undeniably class and I already called it out. I think he's kind of like our Frank Lampard. He's that arriving late, center attacking forward that's gonna like arrive late and bang in some goals, and that's exactly what he's done. And I think he's gonna do that next season. He might even be our top scorer next season, I think.
And Grayson, just before Jacob gets into his answer, numbers might back up your stance because Cedric Toykert is level with Hartel on assists with 3. They both have 3 assists, but Toykert has 5 goals to Hartel's 2. So, if you're of the mindset that a soccer player only has one job, and that's to score goals, which is silly if you ask me. It's potentially Twicker, like you say. But Jacob, what do you got for us?
So I'm gonna agree with you, Grayson. I am firmly on that choo-choo train. Um, However, two things. You guys have heard my stance. Next season, Marcel Hartel MVP. Early lock, early lock. Second thing is, oh boy, what it's going to look like when they're both flying high at the same time, when they're both battling it out on the field for who's going to score more goals or who's going to have more assists. We saw a great Hartel game where he came in and had 3 assists in one match. We just saw this Toysher game where he had a goal and 2 assists. Can you imagine when both of those games gel together and we're mopping teams 6-0?
Just like the good old St. Louis from last season, man. I want to see some good high scoring City games. I
And
miss it. I miss it. And I think it's coming. It's on the way. It's being delivered as we speak. Check,
Ethan,
check the packaging.
so I have to say it took a lot of mulling over for me because this is an incredibly difficult decision. But for me, even though it maybe took him a little longer to get his feet under him, I'm gonna have to go with Choo Choo Seti Toikert. Reason being, Hartel pulls the strings very similar to Edu Lovin. And I think that we are going to see a lot of similarities between Hartel and Lovin's game. But I'm not saying that Celio necessarily will displace Hartel from the starting 11. However, I do think that the competition will be heating up in that area. And as we look at places where we have more depth, I think that we have more depth where Hartel plays.
Mhm.
So going forward, that's my opinion. I honestly would not be surprised at all if Hartel was next year's MVP. So I like that as well. But for me right now, I'm gonna pick Choo Choo Seti Toiker as my signing of the summer.
I was just thinking
it's going to
about like,
be.
go ahead.
Oh, I said I'm really interested to see what formations we can come up with when everyone's healthy, because so many players can play so many different positions well. Like in my head, I was like, "Ooh, a 4-3-3," and then I was like, "Ooh, a 3-4-3," and then I was like, "Ooh, a 5-2-3."
Yeah, I was just about to say like it's kind of refreshing to like have this sort of problem other than
Oh
the
yeah.
one earlier this season where we like who is going to play the number 10. That's not Leuven's best position. We were rotating pretty much all of our wingers through the 10 position to see if anything would.
AZ, Indy, Celio even had a game at 10.
I'm sure
We
Alm did as well.
Klein even came in and played 10.
Yeah, I feel
Ostrich
like
at one point.
Kahima
Yeah.
potentially.
Kahima did as well.
We had
Like
Ostrak.
we literally tried every single player we could at the 10 until we made these signings. So
Except for
I'm
Tim Parker.
except for Tim Parker. Maybe that's a spot. Maybe the Revolution should experiment with that. But yeah, like it's a good problem to have this conversation rather than the problem that we were facing earlier this year that was like who is going to play for City, not like
Mhm.
which player. It's like who will actually be healthy. So
We now have a new problem of what is that center back pairing.
yeah, true.
Which honestly, can we talk about that a little bit? Because I thought that Kessler and Hebert, I thought that they performed about as well as expectations. I would say like not the craziest performance from either one of them, but I did like what I saw between Kessler and Nielsen. What did y'all make of that?
I saw what Grayson was talking about when we really broke down Hebert's play, whether it was last episode or a couple episodes ago, in that Hebert does look um unconfident playing forward. He doesn't really find feet in the midfield. He does try to put that ball up top to the target man, which is kind of the target man's job. And also with this new found philosophy of building through the back when we've got possession, we have to find our center mids. And I do think that that is something lacking in Hebert's game. But I will say defensively, while it didn't happen in this game, Hebert does find himself in huge positions to make huge blocks or huge last ditch tackles that end up in either us not conceding or us even getting the ball back. While that didn't happen this game, it is a piece of his game that is pretty huge. Do I think he's our number 2 center back? I don't know. I think he is a great piece to have available though.
Hmm. My gripe with Hebert, like I like him. Defensively, he's solid. There's moments where it's not his fault, but someone else gets beaten, say a wing back or the midfield gets beaten, and he just looks lost. Like he doesn't know whether to step or mark a man. Just like indecisiveness that I don't like. Like I just want him to pick one or the other and commit to it, but a lot of the time he does end up kind of in no man's land, stuck in between. Which I mean, of course, the starting problem was not on him, and he does make a ton of last ditch saves. His defensive work is fantastic. But yeah, there's moments where I don't think he is like I think was it Sasha Question. Um I just watched a clip of him comparing Kansas City and St. Louis. And they were talking about how St. Louis has found our offense. But now we need to figure out what our center back pairing is. And they were of the opinion that Kyle Hebert is not a playoff center back. Um, I'd like to see I'd like for him to take that as a call out and just take it as a call out, improve and fight. Because if you don't believe that you are a playoff quality center back yourself, then what are you doing? So yeah, I'd love to see the levels of our defense improve.
And Grayson, you mentioned a problem that really plagued our back line earlier this season, which is that somewhat indecisiveness, the moments where they don't know whether to step or they're just caught out a little bit. I think since Giannis Horn and Jaden Reed have entered the team more regularly, we've seen it less up that left side, especially. And I don't necessarily disagree with you that he's probably not necessarily a playoff caliber center back, but I also do agree with Jacob that I think he's a really great piece to have because there are moments, like you said, that he performs totally up to par. But yeah, when he's next to Kessler and you see Kessler's passes breaking 2 or sometimes even 3 lines of pressure or defense from the opponent, yeah, it doesn't necessarily stand up. And I thought Giannis Horn and Thomas Totland were doing another really great job of connecting with the midfield.
And I will give Hebert some praise. He did come back from the what was the international tournament?
Copa.
Yeah, he went to the Copa. He came back a completely different player, a much improved player. I send him on another tournament. Like, let's keep these levels going. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many players on City that are like pretty mid. Like, unadmittedly, they're pretty mid. They're so close to like being
Jesus
better than
Christ.
mid. I'll start naming names if you want me to.
If you feel confident
Oh
in
my
calling
God.
these players out their name, feel free.
All right, word. Here we go. This is a hard one to say because I fucking love him. Indiana Vasilev.
Damn.
Starting off hot.
Controversial.
I think Indiana Vasilev has been mid this season, but he's not a mid player, in my opinion. I think this dude's next level. He just got to unlock that, break out of that. I think there's a lot of players on City like that, like Rasmus Alm, Thomas Ostrick. We haven't seen the best of these players. They're so much better than what we've seen so far. So I'm calling them mid, but that's because I know that they're better players than mid players.
Strong opinions, Grayson, is what I will say to that. And I can't necessarily say that I'm like wholeheartedly disagree. I probably wouldn't call Indy mid, but that's just me. I'm
I think
not
Indy's
gonna
fire,
take you
and
away.
I put him in my starting lineup a lot. I just think there's a different level that can be unlocked.
I will say when Indy is driving at a defender and he hits those step overs and cuts onto his strong foot and rips a shot, it is next level.
It is.
And
We just need to see it
however,
so much more.
yeah, we don't get enough of it when he's out there. And it isn't for lack of opportunity
Mhm.
either. He does pick the ball up. But sometimes Yeah.
He's
A
also faced
player we
injury
need
too,
to
so
add
whatever.
to below mid is Novki Thorson. He had
Ooh-wee.
one good pass in his last game, and it was the hockey assist. But I didn't think he deserved to be on the pitch in this match, truthfully.
Okay, this is a funny one. I like Thorson a lot. I used to not like him at all. I used to hate him actually. But
Damn.
like seeing him like step up this season, it's so hard to fill Klaus's role. And this is before we had Betcher, where he was our starting striker for so long. Not saying he did a fantastic job of it, but he was the one called to do the job. So,
Do
like,
you know who I think he's on the same level as?
oh God.
Isaac Jensen, who we let
Wow.
go.
Hmm.
They are the same player.
But how's Isaac Jensen doing right now? Uh, he had a hell of a season over in Europe.
How is it? But
So what does that
that
mean?
doesn't help us, bro.
I know, but you can't compare Jensen to Thorson if Jensen had a fantastic season overseas.
What I'll say is that Novki Thorson is such an interesting player in my opinion because he has like high highs but low lows.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
a
exactly.
player that hasn't just necessarily found a consistent middle ground to, in my opinion, really like demonstrate his quality. Like we've seen Hartel and Toykert immediately just, all right, here's what I can do. Here's what I'm about. And like it feels like maybe we've seen glimpses from Thor, but I I,
We've seen some
I don't want to
goals,
be I don't
seen
want
some
to
bangers.
yeah, I don't want to be too hard on him because I know it's definitely an adjustment and he's probably still getting his feet under him, but I don't disagree that we haven't gotten enough production in general from our attack before the signings.
Yeah, I was gonna say if there's one overarching point to take from this armchair analyst bullshit we're doing right now, is that our players haven't played up to their best.
I think that's a
That's a good point.
great
That's a great point.
bow to put
Yes.
on that, Jacob. But I think that definitely wraps up our 3 points. I think
Oh
we've
yeah.
been well past that for a little
We got
bit,
like
but
9 points today.
yeah, we let's move into kit clash just before we get into next week because this week we got the sauce battle. This is a battle of true sauce. As we know, Kansas City just loves to yap their little mouths about their barbecue, even though we know that St. Louis style is better. St. Louis style of soccer is better. And in my opinion, the St. Louis kit is better, boys.
Yeah, we first of all, Jacob, I know you're itching. Let's go ahead and talk about on their home kits real quick, since that's the kit that we saw. We mentioned it earlier this season. Kansas City has
Trash.
had it's like their branding is just not it. Uh Fellow YouTuber, MLS YouTuber Kevin Cho, if you're a fan, if you've seen him around. Although he's a Kansas City fan, I am a big fan of his work. Kevin Cho had an idea for Kansas City to change. If he was in charge of Kansas City, he said he would totally throw out all the Sporting KC branding and bring it back to the Wizards. I agree. He's onto something there. Um, so let's also rate the throwback Kansas City Wizards kit. Because that thing admittedly is actually kind of heat. Um, so Kansas City home kit, you get like a point 0.2. Uh, Kansas City Wizards kit, that's just kind of heat. I'm gonna give that a 9.0.
Damn.
Yeah,
Wow.
Damn.
Extremely high kit.
that's a really
Damn.
cool kit. I love this kit.
I can't go any lower than Grayson on a point 0.2 for their home kit, other than giving it a point 0.0000 infinite 0 to ones. Um, it's just like it's on brand with them being basic. Like this is the same shit they've been doing for years, and they haven't really come away from it at all. Um, Now, in full agreement with you, Grayson, this Wizards kit does go hard. The fucking multicolored lightning bolt, The logo itself is like so retro. Obviously, it's a throwback kit, but it's like a cool retro. And then just like I think it was Colorado's third kit that we looked at. They've got the old MLS logo on the back of the neck, which is super cool. Now, who on earth knows what Compass Minerals is and how they've got enough money to sponsor a kit? I've never ever heard of them, but this Wizards kit goes hard. I'm gonna be right underneath you though, because I just couldn't give them a 9 without vomiting in my mouth a little bit. So I'm actually just going to give them an 8.8.
That's fair.
That's extremely fair, Jacob, because yeah, that Kansas City's home kit just boo garbage. Boo 0.5.
Boo boo garbage.
That's Kaka, not the former Ballon d'Or winner.
Smells like caca and Vivas in here.
The Kansas City Wizards kit, though, I have kind of a hot take. Even though I like this kit, I still don't think it's the best throwback jersey.
I agree.
Like,
It's not the best throwback.
even though
It's up there.
it is classy. I do like the multicolor and the font they use, but honestly, yeah, I am like not super sold on this. I think that the Kansas City Wizards kit really pulls from the nostalgia factor. Like this is something that this is a kit that we like to remember fondly, but probably not the most proud time of the MLS, if we're being honest. Like the MLS does probably not want you to look up what happened to the league after the Kansas City Wizards happened. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna be a little more so I'm gonna be a little more conservative, I guess, with my rating and give it an 8.4. Still not topping Portland's throwback kit for me.
Same. I still think the Portland throwback is the best throwback kit in the league. But moving on from Kit Clash, we have a midweek matchup against LAFC. MLS. Wait, were they the MLS champion last year? Am I tripping?
Pretty
Crew?
sure Columbus.
Was it the Crew?
Yep.
2 years ago. 2 years ago. Whatever.
Former
They
MLS
are
champion.
Former.
they are the current US Open Cup champion.
Yep.
Oh, hey, look at that, Kansas City. What happened?
Yeah, what did happen? 3-1 is what happened.
Scoreline that Kansas City is extremely familiar with, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, that LA is familiar with as well. This has been consistently one of the best teams in the MLS this season. I don't want to mess up your preview, Jacob, so I'm going to focus on their players.
Go for it.
Obviously, Hugo Lloris in goal, quality. We don't need to talk anymore about him. K Kamara, MLS legend and journeyman.
Coming off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, scoring, that's a very good player to be having coming off the bench, I would say. Denny Bawanga, obviously top player toward the I believe second in the MLS Golden Boot race. Second or third.
Something like that.
He's above Lionel Messi, which is something I would be bragging
Wild.
to my grandkids
I'd be
about.
proud.
Like to be in the same league as Messi and scoring more goals as him, that's insanely good. And of course, since the summer they added someone else, Olivier Giroud, also seeing time for LAFC recently. Not quite sure
World
if we'll see
Cup
much of him.
winner.
But yeah, the former World Cup winner he's I believe scored in his debut for them. He's been impactful since arriving. I can't confirm. I'm not an LAFC fan. But they're a good team. I'm going to predict that we go on the road and
Can I wait? Can I interject before you? I want to give you some more knowledge
give me
before you
let me give some
predictions.
context, please.
This game on Wednesday will be their third game in a week's time. They played 120 minutes against Sporting Kansas City in the US Open Cup final, in which they won 3-1 in extra time. They scored 2 goals. And then yesterday they beat FC Cincinnati 2-1, coming off that short week. They have already clinched playoffs, but they are still fighting for seeding. They've got a bunch of teams underneath them. RSL's on the same amount of points. Colorado's within chomping distance. Seattle's within chopping distance. Theoretically, Houston's within chopping distance. So there's a lot. There's a lot of fight up there for number 2. Basically, LA Galaxy has number 1 clinched. In my opinion, mathematically not, but they're on 58 points, and LAFC is only on 52. Yeah. With that new knowledge, Ethan, does that change your prediction at all?
Honestly, slightly, just because you being at the end of the season, their legs are fatigued already, and that is a mean stretch of games. Cup finals also just mean a little more. You put just a little more into it than your average league game. So honestly, yeah, and it changes my prediction in a positive way because I was going to predict a draw because it's just difficult to bring myself to predict a loss. But when we were hoping for a very nice St. Louis City playoff run, we identified this as potentially one of the matches that St. Louis City would drop. After that context, though, Jacob, I'm feeling like a 3-2 victory is in our future. Our attack is at an all-time high, I would say. Our defense is looking stronger, and I think we'll be able to squeak one out. I'm gonna say Hartle to get in the back of the net. It feels like he took last week off.
I do have one more, 2, 3 more things to add about the game itself. LAFC has not kept a clean sheet in 5 matches, which is a little bit better than our record currently, but still they are leaking goals. They have scored 9 goals in their last 5. We've scored 10 goals in our last 5. Look at that. So our offense is producing more at the moment. Defense is the question of the day. I will say that LAFC they had kind of a sneaky pickup, picking up Aaron Long as one of their center backs. And he is kind of not up to the standard that he once was. Still a fantastic player, but LAFC is still leaking goals in the bag, even with like world-class goalies and former U.S. men's national team center back. So with the combination of our offense and their offense, it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think that they will be more likely to rest people for the playoff run they have coming up. Now that they have won the Open Cup, don't have to worry about that anymore. They have a large congestion of matches coming up. So I think they will rest people. They don't really need more points unless I don't know. They don't really need it unless they want to like move up in seeding. But um, I think this will be one of those games that we see St. Louis City take advantage of a really good team. And I think this one ends up 3-2. City on top with another goal from Rasmus Alm. I think he goes back to back.
This is tough. So looking at LAFC's upcoming schedule, they've got us. They play Sporting Kansas City again. Then they play Vancouver. Then they play San Jose, which if I'm LAFC and I'm only looking at the table, these are all 4 games in which I would expect a W.
Yeah.
Vancouver, just based off table, looks a little bit harder of a match to win, but with the quality that LAFC does have, I think they're confident. I think they might rest 2 players. 2 players I don't think they're going to rest are Denny Bouanga. And Hugo Lloris is definitely going to get the start.
Yeah.
But Olivier Giroud probably going to sit. And then with us, if we are, which I predict are going to start jumbling things up to see what looks and what fits, we're probably going to rest some guys too. I am going to predict a draw. I think it is going to be a high scoring affair. I don't think we're going to keep a clean sheet, which means they're not going to keep a clean sheet. I'm going to predict a 3-3 draw. And because of LAFC's quality, this is going to be another one of those games where we drop points from a leading position.
It's a
And
formula we've seen so many times.
I'm gonna go Edu. You did and you did Hartle. So I'm gonna take the easiest one and go Cedric. Sure.
Fair. Very fair. We will see. This is a midweek matchup, so don't forget this matchup is on a Wednesday rather than a Saturday. So definitely tune in. It will be an away game. Then this weekend we do have the Dynamo at home for our last home game of the season. So be ready for that too. We have a quick turnaround this week. So be prepared, City fans. Pretty busy end of the year, so just be ready to go.
Sweet. Any grab bags?
Um, one grab bag. Let me double check. I think City 2 just won against Ventura County
Sick.
just now.
Sick.
With including Ventura County got a red card in the 90th minute, I'm pretty sure. So
Wow.
There we
oh,
go.
and Michael Wenzel scored as well. He scored this first goal, I'm pretty sure. So
I wouldn't be surprised if he got some more first team minutes next year. He's done very well for City too, and could be up and coming. I actually do have some grab bag stuff because I wanted to put out to the group opinions on Thor's mullet. Just because a split decision.
There's a
I'm gonna
thumbs
keep the
down and a
mullet.
thumbs up.
hey,
Yeah, for our Spotify listeners, I'm going thumb to the side. We can't
um,
have three mullet men on the team. We can't have JGR, Durkin, and Thor with a mullet. That's too
I
many.
think JGR's is the only one that makes sense. I mean, he's a young kid. He's from down under. So, like, the mullet makes sense to me. Durkin's, I don't think Durkin ever really knew what to do with his hair.
I like it.
And then, yeah, Thor's is like, it is nice because he is assimilating to the culture. And also, like, dude, mullets are not the culture of STL. Like Missouri, maybe, but like the actual city, mullets aren't really it. So yeah, I don't fuck with it.
I
That's
will say,
fair.
as like a former mullet, I had a mullet for like one of my last haircuts
I had a mullet too.
before I shaved my head, before I went full on bald. But um, when I did have a mullet, it felt powerful,
It's
and
fun for like a month.
I dig it. And I also think it's better for Thorsten on the field. He doesn't have to wear a headband anymore, so he doesn't have to worry about the hair in his eyes. That was
True.
a big complaint from the fan base. It's not that big of a deal. Let a man wear a headband.
The
Yeah.
headband is just fine in my book as a
Yeah,
former
we all.
headband
I'm
wearer.
pretty sure we all three used to wear headbands and didn't really have to when we. I don't know if you did, Jacob. Did you?
He just was wearing his headband like in order to have his hair like still close to his eyeballs. Like if he really like popped that shit back like in the olden days how Ethan used to run it, then it would have made sense. But he had that shit like fucking right fucking here.
It's for the vibes.
Brother needed some different vibes. We'll see if how the hair change plays out for him. I have a couple more grab bag things because I have decided to officially take a stance on Hackworth as our manager. And I genuinely I feel like Hack is the man for St. Louis City
Hmm.
next year.
Really, even with the Lou City in talks.
Even with Danny Cruz, the Lou City head coach, being rumored to have been in talks for the job, I and Danny Cruz is a great coach. He's done great things with Louisville City. We are here in Louisville really proud of that club and the things that they've done since he's arrived. He's taken them to the Eastern Conference Finals every year since arriving. That's a track record that's pretty
It's pretty insane.
unprecedented. However, John Hackworth, since arriving, I think his record in 11 games is like 5-2-4, 5 wins, 2 losses, and 4 draws. If we had seen this kind of coaching potentially from the start of the season, I really wonder where we would have been going into this position, especially after the summer signings. So I'm feeling just like I want to see him take a full year at the helm, let him do his thing, let him get the tactics all right, the players that he sees he wants, and let's let him compete.
Okay.
I
I'm
don't
not,
hate it. I don't
yeah.
hate it.
I can't say that I'm passionate enough about Hackworth to, or one way or the other, feeling some type of way about Hackworth to be like 100% yes or 100% no. I like what he's done with the club so far. Um, I'm still like scared to give him like full reins, but like, what's the worst that can happen? What? Don't say. Don't answer that. Don't answer that. Uh,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
uh, but yeah, like I'll commend him for what he's done so far. He's definitely putting in a good argument.
I would say the only difference between him and like having full reins and not is that little word that says interim before his title.
Yeah.
He seems to pretty much have full reign of it right now with just this little bug in the back of his head that says you don't fully have the job yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, even in the post-match press conferences, reporters are asking him if his team sheet decisions have an impact on what he considers to be his future job prospects. So, like, at the very least, if he's not thinking about it, I know the members of the media are. I'm thinking about it, but I've decided that at the very least, going into this offseason, I would like to back Hackworth. That's who I think Lutz should put in charge at the very least for the start of next season. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out and we try again. And I'm okay with that. I don't think our next coach necessarily has to be the man for the job, like the perfect person.
Mm.
But I do think that Hack has done a good job of putting positions in places to succeed. And my last grab bag for the night, because I thought that this was actually really interesting and somewhat random. But word on the street is that Joachim Nielsen had root canal surgery to assist in the healing of his hamstring injury, and apparently it's worked. We can't say for certain whether or not it's worked, and I'm gonna knock on wood for my boy just to make sure that that hamstring stays healthy. But just to provide a little bit of context for people, because I think this is really interesting, Bayern Munich actually has a team dentist on staff, and they just did a very similar thing with a world class player, Jamal Musiala. And he's not the first world class player they've done this with. The French center back Upamecano, who won the World Cup at the same time as Lloris and Giroud, has also experienced something similar. I believe Thomas Muller has had this surgery. But going back as far as Arjen Robben, they have been doing these root canal surgeries because there is an impact that it has. I can't say for certain. I'm not a dentist nor a scientist. I'm just a soccer fan that thinks this is insane. But I really hope that the root canal surgery works out for Nilsson and healing and remedying this injury, because whatever was happening was not working. So I'm glad to see him return to the team, return to the lineup, and I hope go smoothly for the rest of the season.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a really interesting story to hear about that sort of thing. I remember hearing about the Jamal Musiala article a while back, and I know a lot of players have gone through it where they have, injuries that plague them, and it's like a routine little dental procedure, and it
Have you ever had a root canal, bro? That shit sucks.
no,
Never,
It
never.
no.
is not routine. A root canal surgery
Well, I'm not talking
sucks.
about root canal specifically. Like there are other dental procedures that
Okay, okay.
that they're also doing. It's not just, oh, is hamstrings injured? Give them a fucking root canal. No,
I
like
got you. I
like
got you.
like they also have dental issues. It's just that like pain materializes in very strange ways. And if like a player's not 100% because he's got a toothache, yeah, no shit, he's gonna play bad. Um, but yeah, it's like it's very a mysterious thing, and there's definitely got to be a lot of research going into it right now because it's very, I mean, to the non-medical personnel here, very, very weird that
Yeah, it's
correlates.
insane. Yeah, like Hansi Flick, the Barcelona's newest head coach, has a team dentist on staff as well. Like just
Yep,
random things like that that I think is what sets the professional game just levels and levels
very strange, very strange.
above anything else. But
Okay.
that's all I
I've
got for
got
this episode, gentlemen.
got one and a half things before I hit the outro. We had a very, very special guest on this podcast. It was a great interview. It will be hitting your screens and your podcast choices very, very soon. It is definitely the most philosophical podcast that we're ever going to produce,
Like,
without a
wow.
doubt.
Hey,
So
unless we
definitely
get
be
a
on.
second episode.
Would
Hey.
love to pick his brain about Shakespeare. Um, anyways, and also there's a little bug on the street that here in the coming months we may be having a player on the podcast. So more on that later as it actually materializes, but just letting you guys know is more than likely happening. But that's all I got as far as teasers. You guys know the drill. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, like, comment, let us know who's going to win in this match against LAFC. And for extra points, you can do a goal scorer prediction. If you are listening on Spotify, make sure to follow and rate 5 stars. And because there's not really a comment section on Spotify, go over to our Instagram and comment on this week's Kick Clash who you think is going to win in the next game against LAFC. And extra points, comment the goal scorer. Most importantly, though, make sure you tell your mother you love her. Peace. S-T-S-T.
Let's go, baby.
S-T.
Oh, shit.